Welcome to Womb-Mates, a podcast where we talk openly and honestly about the emotional realities of motherhood. We are your hosts, twin sisters, Lily
and Lela.
Today, we are talking about cycles. And that is a very broad term because we are talking about a lot of different kinds of cycles. So, the reason we wanted to talk about this today is because it has been something I have been in the midst of learning about for a few years. Just like the rhythms of life when it comes to not just like your menstrual cycle, but also like the seasons, like winter, spring, summer, and fall, seasons of life, things that happen to you, motherhood things that happen. And I'm also very interested in like the cycles of the moon and how people used to think about the moon back in the ancient days, because it was like very much a calendar and also like telling you when to focus on certain things, like when to focus more inward and when to focus more outward. So I feel like that is very interesting, that there's cycles in like everything that we do.
And I think it is particularly relevant for women, and I think everyone has cycles in life, but when I think about like menstrual cycles and motherhood and pregnancy, and they're all relevant. But before we start our episode, I do have a very exciting announcement to make. And that announcement is that I am pregnant. Yay. So I actually found out the day before we recorded our first podcast episode, but Lily did not know. So I was sitting here.
I didn't even know that.
On my own.
I didn't even know that until right now that we recorded that the day after you found out. Yeah, it was. I can't believe you didn't tell me. Literally, when I found out I was pregnant, I had to hold back for at least 30 minutes just to sit in the fact that I was pregnant now. And I was like, okay, now I need to call.
It was very difficult, but we decided to
wait
wait 2 days because we wanted to make sure, because it did happen very fast and we were both shook. So we were not expecting that to happen so fast. But I am happy that it did, because that was the best case scenario for me.
Yeah,
the sooner the better was my thought. So anyway, now I can offer a little pregnancy lens. As of this recording, tomorrow I will be 13 weeks. So
I can't even believe that.
About to end. I don't understand why I'm not entering my second trimester, because everything I look at says the second trimester begins at 14 weeks, but isn't 3 months 12 weeks? So wouldn't I be in my second trimester?
That's what I thought.
Everything I read says 14 to 18 weeks or whatever is.
I feel like I need to sit down and look at this, because I remember when I was pregnant, someone was like, "Why pregnancy is actually like 10 months." But I don't know. I can't think in my brain right now of how that's true.
Well, something I learned was I didn't know that your first month started
when you had your period.
Your period starts.
Technically, you weren't even pregnant, but technically, I guess you are. And I didn't know that either.
I don't know. I did not know that when I found that out, and I was like, wait a second. I'm already a month pregnant. How is that? Or whatever it was.
Yeah,
so
because
I was like,
the day of your last period is the start of your cycle. So it goes on your cycle, I guess.
I just didn't think of it that way. I was like, well...
Speaking of cycles...
I was like, now I really got to get on this, because I just always had in my head, like, 9 months from, I don't know.
Well, how many weeks is being pregnant?
37 is like...
Is that 9 months? Can somebody do math around here?
I didn't come here today to do math.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Bringing up math now. Let's just... We don't want to deal with that.
All I know is I'm due in September 8th. So whenever, I don't know when this podcast is going to be released, or when
maybe you'll have a baby. But
so by the time you're watching, maybe I already have the baby.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's been very exciting, and I feel very blessed because, as we said in the last episode, like 5 friends had babies within 1 year last year. So everyone's like, do you want this? Or I got like a whole thing of milk bags yesterday. My friend's texting me about a bathtub, if I want a bathtub, if I want a stroller,
You're not going to have to buy anything, and I don't think anyone else is going to have to buy anything either. We're just going to pass everything to you.
It's
like,
really a best case
off
scenario.
My hands.
And I also, it's very nice. And I also feel like I am not alone, which is very relevant to what we talked about last week. So if you didn't listen to last week's podcast about loneliness and having a village and motherhood, I very much feel blessed in that area. So far, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start our actual topic of what we were talking about.
Well, okay, cycles. I feel like we should start by the fact that people feel that they should be feeling good all the time. Or like if there's something wrong, that there's something wrong with them if they're sad or like anxious, which maybe sometimes that is a concern, but I feel like we just go through periods of that and that's normal and that depends on your external circumstances. People like are affected by the weather, so it depends on like what actual season it's in. It can depend on your hormones. There's so many things.
Yes.
And if you understand what cycles affect you and how, because I feel like it's different for everyone, the nuances, maybe it might be a little easier to deal with those feelings when they come up of, I don't know, why do I feel so angry today? Or why do I feel so sad? Maybe because it's dark and snowy outside and you haven't seen sunlight in 3 days.
Yeah, I have like 3 things to say. The first thing is why I think this is important to talk about. And I think number one, I think the more that I understand cycles and like I've been tracking my menstrual cycle for years and learning about it, and I feel like it really helps me not burn out or push myself when I know like, okay, I know I'm just gonna be more emotional these next few weeks instead of being like, well, I just need to deal with this. Like, why am I so emotional? And then I end up feeling burnt out. It helps you manage things better. First of all, it's validating to be like, okay, I'm just pregnant, so that's why I'm tired.
That'll do it.
The other thing I was going to say is you were talking about like questioning why you're angry or like why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel so anxious? I think that one of the things that has been happening a lot as a mental health counselor, I feel like I think about this a lot and see it a lot, is like as time has gone on recently, I think more people over-identify with diagnoses and disorders because of that. Like we're getting, like the good side of that is like we're more in tune with our emotions and mental health. But then the other side of that is like, I am sad, so I must be depressed. Or I'm like anxious about this thing coming up, so I must have anxiety. But I think cycles also validate that of like, it's normal you're not always going to be happy. We're not always going to be like in one state of mind, or which is what society wants us to be. Always be productive and always be in a good mood.
Never rest, never sleep. Sleep is not good. Speaking of that, it reminds me of a lot of the Happiness Trap that you
I was thinking
recommended
about that too.
to me, and I really like that book, and I am only 40% through the second edition, which I do recommend the second edition because I feel like it's a lot more detailed, but it's about ACT, acceptance commitment therapy. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That Lela introduced to me, and I feel like it is so helpful for me because it's literally just about accepting your feelings, and it gives you like techniques for that and like moving through them. And I feel like it's a very spiritual practice. It's like meditating. It's like very mindful.
There's a lot of
but
Buddhist
it's like
principles.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the only thing that has like since I started reading it maybe 2 weeks ago. I only read a little bit in the mornings, which is why I'm still reading it, but it's good because I'm taking it all in because it's a lot of information. But it's like the only thing that has consistently felt like it has been able to help me when I'm like spiraling. I feel like, anyways, that's a whole other episode. We could talk about that because it's so much and it's really
ACT
good.
has like, I have done a few ACT trainings. That is like my main modality, I would say. But that theory has changed my brain, I feel like, because I've been through CBT counseling. I've done CBT. I do still use it sometimes. But it does feel more like you're fighting your feelings and thoughts instead of, which
Like
can make it worse.
He says like positive thinking and reframing can be a form of fighting your thoughts because you feel like, oh, so this is a wrong thing to think. I need to think something different. Instead, in the book, he's like, don't do anything else. Just say the thought like I am anxious, and then it separates you from that feeling. It's just a thought. That's like one of the many techniques, but
Yeah, I love
I really like that. I'm really glad you introduced that to me, and your expertise can help me out.
The book is The
So,
Happiness Trap by Russ Harris, if
yes.
you're interested.
But anyways, we should move on here because there's a lot of topics that we can talk about
Yeah,
phases
we have a
and
lot
cycles.
of words.
We can talk about the 4 main seasons of the Earth. I don't know. We can also talk about how that's a metaphor for your menstrual cycle. So I don't know. There's a
Yeah,
lot of different directions.
I thought we could just go
There's
through
a
each
lot.
season and just talk about
Yeah.
how that correlates to life seasons and motherhood and menstrual season, whatever, you know. We could just, that will provide some kind of structure to
Yeah.
the chaos.
Okay, let's just start with spring.
Okay.
What does spring mean?
Well, spring in nature is like daylight increases in many species. Spring is a mating and birthing season because food and safety increases. And I think spring energy mirrors like dopamine activation, like where we start feeling motivated, we initiate projects, there's like new hope, just like new things. That's what I think of. What do you think of when you think of spring energy?
Yeah, like blooming and like energizing. So, sorry to bring this, this is not off topic. It will be on topic. But there's this other book I read that also changed my perspective on things called In the Flow by Alyssa Vitti. Vitti? I think it's Vitti. And she's like a hormone expert, and she wrote about our menstrual cycles. So there's follicular, ovulatory, luteal, and menstrual. Mm-hmm. And follicular is spring because hormones naturally give you more energy. Mm-hmm. And
Follicular.
today's the first day of my follicular cycle. And this morning I literally was making lists of things I need to do. Where like the last month, I was like,
go.
I cannot even write down a word on a list right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like that sounds overwhelming.
Yeah. And follicular is the phase that comes after your menstrual cycle.
Yes. You're coming
And
out
it
of
lasts
the cave.
how long?
I think it's 5 to 7 days. 5 days?
You know what I don't think is fair?
That it's
Is
only
the
5
good
days.
one? Why
and
are the
luteal is
good
like 20?
not good? We're not gonna put a judgment on them. But why are the more energizing ones like so short?
I know, it's not.
And then like the luteal phase for me is like 2 weeks.
It's really
That just
annoying.
doesn't seem.
I
It
think
doesn't seem fair, but
maybe that just
there's a
means
reason
that
for
it.
it.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a reason
need
for
that.
it. Anyway, so yes, check that book out.
I'm going to look up how
I'm gonna
long
link
is the
all the books we're talking about in our description.
It's 6 days. But I don't know, is that different for everyone?
I don't know. I mean, everyone's cycles are. Some people have really random cycles.
Yeah.
What is yours? Is yours random, or is it
Mine
consistent?
is like 28 or 29 days.
But is it like? Does it start very like on time?
It
Or is it
starts
random?
within a day, 1 to 2 days of when I predict it to start. So it's not like exact, but it is pretty on time. Which
Yeah,
I was
it's
on
just-
birth control for a really long time, and then I was pregnant, and then I didn't have my period for a really long time. So I feel like I have just been starting learning about my cycles for the past couple of years.
This is a good study for science because we're identical twins, and I've never been on birth control and didn't get pregnant until now.
That's true.
And I've had except when I was like in grad school and stressed all the time, I would like skip my cycle and it would be random. But now it's very consistent, and it's always been for the most part.
Interesting.
Anyway, so follicular phase is like spring. Mm-hmm. So within the follicular phase, our estrogen rises, which means we have increased cognitive flexibility, verbal fluency, more social confidence, and the brain imaging during follicular phases show greater reward sensitivity. So we have like greater reaction to reward.
Interesting.
So that is interesting. What about the motherhood parallel to this? What would you describe as like a spring phase in motherhood? What kind of things are happening during like a spring phase?
I think I feel more present. I feel like I have more space and room to like do activities and have new ideas, like new craft ideas or whatever. Or like, let's have a picnic today. Like we did that for lunch today. We just ate outside, which I've been doing almost every day because it's a lot less to clean up and it's been nice outside. But I feel like I want to do more things like that when I feel more energized. I don't feel as like my threshold feels higher for what is
Wider threshold?
wider
Or
for activities.
Interesting.
Which also, I don't know if this is normal, but I feel more energized on my period sometimes. But I think it's because I sleep so good on my period. I don't sleep well any other part of my phase. Like, I don't sleep consistently well, except for on my period. So I think the last 2 weeks, 1 week, I don't know, sometimes I don't, but...
Yeah, so it might have a lot to do with your sleep and energy.
Yeah, I do feel very affected by sleep.
It is interesting when I think back. Sorry, this is off topic and not.
That's okay.
And on topic at the same time. Whenever I think about spring, like literal spring happening, I always start something new. Like last spring, I was like,
me too,
really into my ukulele therapy stuff, and like I created a whole Discord channel. Like that was in March, and then the spring before that, I started creating, or I don't know. I started making like little notebooks and workbooks, whatever.
I have noticed that with me too. And we're doing this. It's March 1st. I feel
That's
like
true.
March I always like deep clean in March. I always get rid of stuff.
Spring cleaning is a thing.
That
for
is a very interesting point.
I wonder if it's like different depending on the weather.
That's what I keep thinking, because that's when we live in Florida, so it's like not freezing in the winter, but it's like actually starting to feel like,
Nice
yay,
out.
I'm excited to go to the beach and be outside.
Yeah, it's like not. Anyway,
spring is hopeful.
It could just be, oh no, that might be part of it too. Okay,
right,
so
let's go to the next.
Motherhood. You feel like you have more energy to do new things, think of new ideas.
Yeah. Let's do summer now.
Yeah, summer. So in summer, in nature, it's the longest daylight exposure. So typically, more light means more serotonin in our brain, and which means elevated mood most of the time. And plants are photosynthesizing at max capacity, and growth has happened. So spring is like things are starting, and now growth has been here, and you see all the flowers bloomed, and all the things that were happening and blooming in spring are now prevalent. This is often correlated with, in our brain, I guess, a summer season. I guess I would correlate that with like action, engagement, just like being
visibility.
Visibility, very outward, and like
expanding.
You're in the world and you're like doing things and expanding the things that you started in spring. Social bonding might increase in summer months, and creativity research shows that idea output often peaks during high energy states. So if you're getting more energy, then you might have more creativity or more motivation. So that's what I think of when I think of summer. What are your impressions of a summer vibe?
I just want to go to the beach.
I'm like,
honestly, zoned out, just thinking about the beach the whole time. Just kidding. I feel like, well, I'll give the menstrual cycle perspective. Summer is correlated with your ovulatory phase, which is when your hormones are, like your estrogen is at peak level, which is like the female hormone, I guess. Like, I feel like it literally changes your appearance sometimes. Like, I've seen pictures of people, sorry, I didn't mean to say female hormone. I just like correlate it with like testosterone and estrogen.
It drives female reproductive development,
okay, so
regulates menstrual cycle, maintains bone, heart, skin, and brain health.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen pictures of people just like on Instagram Reels and stuff. Like, here's my face during my luteal phase, and here's my face during my ovulatory phase, and it's like looks so different. I don't know. It does something with your body. Anyways, but there's also an LH surge, which I don't forgot what that is, but that is like also really high. And increased social ability when you're in your ovulatory phase, which also correlates with like how I feel anyway in the summer. Like, I just want to like go have fun and like, I don't know, do stuff and be outside.
I'm reading about LH now because I also always hear about that, but I don't really know what it is. A vital hormone produced by the pituitary gland that regulates reproductive systems. In women, a mid-cycle LH surge triggers ovulation. Okay, so that's what triggers the ovulation. While in men, it stimulates testosterone production. LH levels measured via blood or urine tests are crucial for evaluating fertility, puberty, and pituitary disorders.
Another thing about, speaking of men have a cycle too. Did you know that? According to the
Did
In
you
the Flow
know?
book, it's the 24 hours, which is what our society is built around, is the 24-hour cycle. And I feel like that's how society also wants us to also live in summer all the time. Which, if we do that, you will burn out. And you will get sunburned. And you will be very much in pain.
You will literally
You'll fry in
be
the sun.
burnt.
So, you'll be burnt.
Yeah, because if you think about in nature, if summer was happening all the time, plants would die. They can't survive in that weather all the time, even though they look like they're blooming and they look beautiful.
I think some plants would survive.
Well, yeah, but
Not human
if
plants,
we go to
metaphorically speaking.
if we go to fall and winter, it's very interesting because it also talks about how like some plants need to die and some plants need to.
fall.
So anyway, just a thought, food for thought. Just think about that. What would it look like if we were actually in summer 24/7? That sounds a little bit miserable to me.
Yeah, it does. I feel like the joy of summer is that it's coming and that it's here. And then if it's like, just like school's out, if you're in school or whatever, or yay, it's finally warm. But you can't live like that forever, because then you'll be like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, you would get
And
burnt
you would
out.
be a lobster.
Anyway, so that's summer. Did I miss anything? Oh, motherhood stuff. How would you describe a summer metaphor of motherhood?
I feel like you just do a lot of stuff. Like when I try to be mindful now that I know what my cycles look like, of not to, because I like text people when I feel energized and confident. And I'm like, let's do this thing or let's start this thing. But then I regret it when I am like not in my summer mood anymore. So I feel like, what would I be okay with this in the future? Like maybe it will be good for me in the future. I don't know. But I just try to be mindful of like not over exerting myself with tasks and commitments.
Yeah.
So I feel like as a mom, like planning stuff, like play dates or birthday things, or also like, I don't know, maybe looking for freelance work or just like all that stuff all at once is exciting. And maybe sometimes something good will come out of it, because I do feel like it is productive to do those things. But it can also be ouchies later when you're overwhelmed.
Yeah. In the moment.
But like being with Romy feels very, I don't know, fun. Like I feel like I just want to have fun with her in those seasons. Like it doesn't necessarily
that's your
mean
daughter,
like
by the
it's,
way, in case
yeah, sorry,
you don't know.
she's 2 right now. But I also feel like that means, and I forgot where I was going with that.
Sorry.
Because I
I
forgot to mention
interrupted
who that was.
you.
But having fun.
Summer
I completely
equals
forgot
fun.
where I was going with that. But anyways, let's move on to the next season.
Fall.
Fall.
So, fall in nature.
Autumn.
Autumn is
Some people call it.
whatever your preference is. Nature, science stuff. So, leaves change color because chlorophyll production drops. The plant stops investing in leaves to preserve energy. And trees literally begin to withdraw resources from what won't survive winter. So, when I think of fall as a metaphor in psychology, I think of.
I remember what I was going to say.
Oh, please go
I
ahead.
don't want to interrupt you, but I don't want to forget. I think it's important to note that even though it is summer, if it's summer and you're like ovulating, you're like, I definitely feel like this. I do feel like sometimes I feel in a summer mood, even when it's not summer or even when I'm not ovulating. Like I feel like that's still a cycle. Like your emotions still cycle through things, even if the outward experiences aren't
Yeah,
reflecting that.
I think that's
So
one
it's
of the
not
points.
like, because I feel like maybe sometimes people or me get stuck in thinking like, what? Isn't my hormones supposed to be making me happy right now?
Yeah.
Like, isn't it so nice out? Why am I not happy? I think it's just like dependent on your external factors too, like what's going on in your life. But it just means to accept that it will pass, because all cycles go in a circle. And
Yes, I think that is another point we want to make. So I'm glad you brought that up. Is that a cycle is not defined by anything necessarily. Like it can be helpful to be like, this is my menstrual cycle happening, or this is like the season men. But like you can literally have a cycle during a 24-hour period and just like feel sad in the morning, and then you can feel more energized in the afternoon. The thing about cycles that's helpful, I think, is what you said about it passing. Like cycles pass.
Yeah.
And if they're not passing, then you might want to look into that, because that might be something else. Because we are made to live in cycles of like emotion and also productivity and energy, and it's not, very different for everybody. So we're not don't put yourself in a box and be like, I should be feeling like this because it is my ovulation, but that's not always true.
Boxes around here. Okay, fall. Shedding.
Yes, I was talking about the psychology metaphor of fall. I guess I think of like in summer you're like doing a bunch of stuff, and then fall might be when you're kind of figuring out like what's working for you and what's not, what you need to get rid of, what's burning you out, where do you need to preserve energy like the plants do. And yeah, that's all I got with that. And menstrual cycle is
your luteal phase, which is the longest. And I always definitely notice a change in my moods, especially at the end of my luteal phase. I get really emotional. Like everything affects me way more than it feels like it's normal. And I think that is a good thing. It's annoying, but I feel like it's telling you something that you need to listen to. Like, not identify with that feeling, but be like, why, like explore, why is this coming up for me right now? And I think like this past luteal phase for me, I was really feeling, it was a lot of external things too, because I like all of a sudden didn't have as much support with Romy, and I feel like I was getting really burned out faster. And so I realized like things that needed to change. Like I need Jacob to do these certain things. Like I need him to wake up with Romy on 2 days in a row. So I have like a weekend, and I get to like not worry about waking up early or whatever. And I feel like good things can come out of when you start feeling that way. It's your body is literally telling you something needs to change. It's not telling you like something's wrong with you. But it is something you need to look into.
Very relevant point to what I was just talking about summer being like doing all the things, but it also makes you realize like what you do need.
Yeah,
like, when
because
you
also
feel burnt out.
In my notes, heightened discernment. So you have like because your heightened discernment is happening, maybe some things that you weren't bothering you because you didn't have that discernment in your summer cycle phase or whatever, now is like coming to your attention.
Yeah. So when you're feeling like that, burnt out, instead of being like, I should be able to push through this, or like, why can't I handle it? That's a really good reframe. Speaking of reframing, if it's helpful for you, is to be like, this is just like my body telling me what's not working for me. Yeah. And like, maybe I need to change something.
Also in your luteal phase, progesterone rises, which I don't remember what that is.
I just looked it up because I knew we were both going to be
wow, you're ahead of it. And your amygdala sensitivity increases, which I did not know that. That's interesting.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, my luteal phase is always very rough. And something that I've noticed being pregnant is I feel emotionally a lot better. And I know that's not the same for everybody at all. I feel blessed in that way. Physically, I do not feel better. But emotionally, I'm like, I'm not having periods. I'm not going through a luteal phase. My body and my hormones are literally focused on like making a baby.
You know what? I have noticed that you haven't been venting to me as much. Haven't been crying as much. Just kidding.
But when I am like having a mood swing or whatever, it's clearly not coming from anything. Like it's clearly like something dumb.
What do you mean?
Like I'm watching a show that I've watched before, and I start sobbing at a part that I would have never sobbed at, and I'm like, oh, it's just because I'm pregnant. It's not like I'm like, maybe that's why I feel better. I don't know. I really don't know. All I know is that I feel better emotionally. And I don't know if that's because I'm pregnant or not, or maybe I'm just excited about being pregnant. And
I was joking that it's like your body's like, finally, my purpose is being realized.
it's like, I've been trying to do this for what,
like
20
biologically,
years
what's
or
supposed to
whatever.
happen.
I've been trying to tell you.
So if you're having issues, just get pregnant. Just kidding.
I
Please
have
don't do
had
that.
I've had multiple clients tell me that they've had doctors tell them that
That's
if they have some
insane.
kind of like, I think it was endometriosis or something, the doctor has said, you know what, you could get pregnant, and then that usually helps.
That also creates many other problems situations.
I was like, what?
That is insane.
I don't. Okay.
That seems like not ethical.
Yeah.
But
Like, yeah, I'm just gonna get pregnant because it's gonna cure my disorder.
maybe if they say it like
There's a way to say it. Yeah.
different.
Like, are you planning to be pregnant? Because if so, then this might be a positive side effect.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Not like
feeling.
get pregnant.
Get pregnant to cure yourself.
Anywho, that was off topic. What are we talking about?
Luteal. Oh, there's like, so you feel
Progesterone.
different. Yeah, what's that? I forget.
It's a vital steroid hormone produced by the ovaries, adrenal glands, and placenta that prepares the uterus for pregnancy. Maintains gestation and regulates the menstrual cycle. It thickens the uterine lining for implantation and supports early pregnancy.
Doesn't it also help you sleep?
I don't know.
I feel like I read that, but maybe we should look that up. But I feel like I sleep really bad in my luteal phase, and I know that's a thing for a lot of people. But it's interesting because it's so long. Your earlier luteal phase is different than your late luteal phase. So like in your early luteal phase, you might feel more productive or focused. But in your late luteal phase, you feel less tolerance for chaos, feel irritable. That's how I feel anyway. Emotional triggers surface. So I think for motherhood, that means feeling burnt out, but not in the way, I don't know, like the same thing where you're just like realizing things that might need to change.
Yeah.
Or realizing where you need help.
Yeah.
Your invisible labor feels heavier. I notice I always start like comparing numbers when I'm in my luteal phase, where I'm just like,
Huh?
like,
What?
like, wait, I get this many hours of free time.
Oh.
Like Jacob gets this many hours of free time.
What is that from? Why?
Just
is that
just
a
because
luteal
I
phase
want it to be
thing?
fair. I don't know, because you're just like you're like feeling more like things feel more heavy, so you're like trying to compare. I'm not saying it's a luteal phase thing. I'm just saying that's what I do in my luteal phase.
But I'm saying, why do you think that's in your
Oh,
luteal? That happens during
Because
your luteal phase for you?
I feel like I just focus more inward maybe, and I'm just
And if you're
feel
feeling
more burnt out. So I'm like, how can I fix this? I don't know.
well, yeah, that could be just your analytical brain
But
being like, how do I need to figure out what to do with this
yeah.
information.
So how does that? So fall is like a time of shedding, which I think is really interesting because
Your
when
uterus
you
is
feel-
preparing to shed.
yes.
And in summer, you're getting
Connections.
burnt by the sun, but it's also preparing you to get burnt out.
What?
I don't know.
Anyways,
Sorry, continue.
I don't remember. I'm still trying to figure out what you were trying to say.
Just ignore it. Pretend like I didn't say anything. Continue.
Shedding.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's like focusing on what needs to be shed. Yeah. Like again, this could be just like a time in your life. It doesn't have to be fall or your luteal phase. It's like, I notice sometimes I feel like this when I'm ovulating. It's like, just, I start looking more inward.
Mm-hmm.
Things feel heavier. I'm like, what do I need? What needs to change? Instead of being like, why do I feel like this? Which I usually end up doing. But now that I'm practicing ACT, I can be more mindful.
Yeah.
It's been very helpful.
This kind of is relevant to what you were saying before. Research shows that many women have sharper critical thinking and less tolerance for nonsense during this phase. So now you can be like to whoever's bothering you, you know what? I'm in my luteal phase and this is nonsense. My tolerance for it is lower. Can you do that again when I'm
exactly
ovulating?
what I'm going to tell someone that's annoying me. You know what?
Be
Just
like,
have
try-
less tolerance for
Try
nonsense
again
right now.
when I'm ovulating and I don't care as much.
Please come back in 2 weeks. I'll feel better.
That's interesting though, that it's like, it's a lot of that is about discernment. I never thought about a luteal phase being about like discernment and like knowing.
Yeah, like maybe we're more intuitive during those
So
times.
like we were
because
talking
you're
about, like that doesn't
more
feel fair,
sensitive.
but maybe it is because it's just necessary to be able to have a
Yeah.
period of time where you're like
That's what something I'm learning
not
is
putting up with nonsense.
yeah, there's not a positive or negative feeling. I feel like there's just information. And that is something
Well,
I've been
yes.
trying to tell myself because as an Enneagram 4, I'm very attached to my feelings. And so when I feel a certain way, I judge myself for feeling that way. And then I feel worse. It's been very helpful for me to just be like, what is this telling me?
Yeah.
And how can I detach from this from my personality? Because it doesn't define me.
I
It's
think
just
that's
giving me
why
information.
ACT was so helpful for me because I do that too. I'm like very much
I'm
identify.
so glad you told me about this because I have been feeling really a lot better because of it the past couple weeks. Just like practicing.
Well, now I
those
feel like I
things.
failed you that I haven't.
You have mentioned
Give
it
it-
before. I just never like read book about it or. I remember you gave me like a worksheet and stuff. like you gave me like an ACT
I'm just
workbook,
picturing-
and I didn't.
I'm
I didn't
picturing
do
you
that.
like venting to me and like crying, and I'm like, here's a worksheet. You could just do this. I don't.
Maybe that's why I didn't do it. I was annoyed. I was
I
like, why
don't-
you give me a
maybe I was-
worksheet? I just need.
In my luteal phase, I'm like, I'm not putting up with this nonsense.
This is nonsense. I'm not dealing with this worksheet
Well,
right
your
now.
feelings are never nonsense.
I
to
do have a
me.
folder on my computer of like worksheets you've given me.
That's really. I don't know how I feel about that.
I like it. I want.
Okay.
Sometimes I need those resources. Do I use them?
I hope I
No.
did it in a sensitive way.
You did.
Anyway, so okay, what is your motherhood parallel to fall?
We already talked about this.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, I said I feel like it feels like the feeling of being burnt out. You're just discerning what you need help with. And
Yeah.
Okay, winter. Winter is cozy.
It can be cozy. It also can be
It can be.
seasonal affective disorder. Could be time of coziness and of sad.
So what is happening in nature in winter?
Nature science. Winter. For many species, winter is necessary to trigger proper flowering in the spring. This is called vernalization. I think I'm saying that right. Exposure to cold activates genetic pathways for blooming later. Cold kills off pests and pathogens that would otherwise explode in warmer climates. So it's necessary.
Literally?
Explode like
Literally
the population would explode. Not like there's. When I first read that, I was like, "Did I make a typo?" No.
Wait,
It
what
would
explodes? Could you say
Pests and pathogens.
pests? Like bugs explode? Oh, you mean like bugs will
Like the
populate
population-
faster? Okay.
Yeah, like in Florida, if it was always summer, there would be way too many mosquitoes.
It's like this is a new scientific like thing that I have never
didn't
learned about.
know that? You didn't know that bugs
No,
explode if. I'm just kidding.
I never knew that.
It said, okay, let me read this again now that we understand. Cold kills off pests and pathogens that would otherwise explode in warmer climates. The population would explode.
I see.
So it's necessary to weed out things that are not necessarily good for nature to continue the cycles of growing. And winter dormancy also conserves metabolic energy. Think about hibernation. We need to conserve our energy. Cold reduces pest populations and disease cycles. Soil replenishes, I don't know this word, microbial diversity in slower seasons. So nature is resting, and it's on purpose, and it's doing that for a reason. So we rest for a reason. And this is my number one topic in my therapy sessions, is that it's very hard for me to rest, and I always feel guilty when I'm resting, even though I do it a lot. But it's a struggle.
Yeah, it is a struggle. You know what I just thought of? The Fibonacci sequence. Do you know the spiral? It's like in nature everywhere. I feel like that's also with cycles because like every day you have a rest period. Every week you should have a rest period. Every month. Like we have our weekends. We have nighttime where we sleep every day. But then we have weekends in the weeks. And then in the months we should have, I think, rests, like vacations. And then the ultimate rest is when we die.
That's the end of this.
So it's
Spiral.
yeah.
That is very interesting.
Yeah,
True.
it's everywhere in nature, like physically, but also I feel like not physically. just with
Yeah,
time.
like
It's
design
time.
physically and also like in time and the cycles of seasons. And that is fascinating. That's a
Yeah,
great
we
thought.
need
Thanks for
lots of
sharing.
we need lots of periods of rest
Yes,
in different ways.
that is very true. The big rest is when we die. So,
That's when your soul rests. And your body forever, but your soul rests and then
and then whatever
they're
happens,
renewed.
whatever you believe happens.
Yeah.
So,
I think your soul rests. And then you go on to do other things.
me too.
I don't know. Nobody knows.
Okay. Anyway, so the psychology of winter, if we were thinking of it as a metaphor, is just like rest and restoration. And if you think about winter, and a lot of people take the holidays off, even though now it's very commercialized and it's more stressful for a lot of people. But I think it should be a time of like just being cozy and hanging out with family and friends and not doing as many responsibilities. I always take a week off. Me and my husband do that every year. We take a week off of work in the winter and we just don't exist during that week. And I learned to do that because I used to not do that. And then my clients would take off that week and then I would show up to work and not see any clients and not get paid. So I was like, you know what?
Wait, they just didn't tell you? That
No,
were
like they
taking
would
off?
cancel or they would.
Oh.
So it would be like, I don't know. I always feel like I wasn't working anyway during that week, but I was working, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so might as
So
well
I
just
might
not.
as well just take the week off.
Yeah.
And that is a time where I don't feel guilty about resting because I'm like, I'm probably not going to be working anyway.
That's good. And we always talk about how we play Skyrim during the winter.
Yeah,
because I
that's a
feel like
little,
that's like playing. I always want to play game. Like I go through cycles where I want to play games and where I don't want to play games. And I always want to play games in the winter. And I don't know if it's because whenever we grew up with like Christmas break, we would always like
we would
play
get like video
games
games
together.
for Christmas and
I don't know if that's it or if it's just like part of feeling like I need to hibernate and just like do something cozy or I don't know.
I do feel like that too. It's a video game time.
Yeah.
Just disconnecting. Anyway, yeah. So it's about rest and low dopamine periods can support integration and memory consolidation. When we're resting, we literally are like that's what happens during sleep. It's like you are literally processing memories and emotion and life. So I feel like when you're resting, just that's happening in general. Like when you rest more, like we need to have time for things to consolidate in our brain.
Which is also what's happening in your cycle, in your menstrual cycle. I feel like you sleep, well, scientifically speaking, sleeping better in your menstrual phase, which I found true to be for me. Last night, I had the best sleep I've had in years. I don't know what I did.
You just texted me this morning and said, I didn't sleep well.
No, I didn't.
I'm pulling up this technically because you were
I
talking
did
about
not
going to
say
Disney and that we were going to not
No,
go
I said I
late.
did sleep well, which is why we should go late. Why we
I,
should stay late.
I totally read that wrong. Never mind.
I
So
don't
you were probably
remember-
confused why I was like, oh, we don't have to. Okay, never mind.
I was a little bit. Anyways, I don't remember the last time I slept where I just closed my eyes and then I woke up and it was morning. I was like, thought it was 3 a.m. when I woke up.
Oh, no.
And I fell asleep in like 5 minutes and I'm getting annoyed that I can't read my book at night. I can't stay awake, which is good because I hate like not being able to sleep. But
Always going to be a.
there's always going to be something
con.
I'm mad at. But it was great. And I slept 8 hours and I think part of it is Jacob didn't sleep in the bed last night. And I woke up.
No, that's
I was like, where were you? He was like, oh, I just wanted to just sleep in the dark room downstairs. Which sometimes he does that after he's playing games late. But that's probably part of it because he wasn't like adjusting and snoring next to me.
Oh, maybe
Because
you need to do
sometimes
that
I wake up when he
thing
gets in bed.
that a lot of couples are doing these days.
Have our own rooms.
Have your own rooms.
Yeah. But seriously, that was crazy. And I got over an hour of deep sleep according to my watch, which never happens. I only ever get like 30 to 40 minutes of deep sleep.
You are in your follicular phase, or you're just leaving your...
I'm leaving my menstrual phase. Today is the first day of my follicular phase.
Interesting.
So I got like over an hour of deep sleep, I think 3 out of 5 of my menstrual days, which never happens to me. And I didn't do anything different. Like I didn't change my habits or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just on my period. Anyways,
we need to wrap this up because we are
Motherhood
almost an hour of talking, yapping over here. Okay.
Motherhood parallel. I think just feeling depleted feels like winter and motherhood. And I was thinking about, it felt very wintry when I was postpartum, like freshly postpartum. And it was winter. It was like really cold out all the time. It was like getting dark early. And I felt like really weird and like not depressed, but it felt like I was depressed, but it was just like felt very dark and
Yeah.
not restful. But I feel like if I just accepted that I was supposed to be restful and not supposed to be, but like,
That's the season you were in.
yeah,
This is the part of
accepted
the
that's the
cycle we're
season
in.
that I was in. But it's more about like surviving. Like, I feel like winter is more about survival over like producing or creating stuff.
Yeah.
So whether that means like resting more or like not doing as many things. In motherhood, maybe it might feel like a season of grief. You're feeling really depleted
Because
and
things are like if you think about nature, it's like all the colors have left and like all the things are dead. That sounds really depressing, but it is. I can see how that would be very parallel to like grief or like loss because that is the same. Often when we feel grief or loss, it's also like something new is starting or there's a new chapter
yeah,
beginning.
exactly. I think that's important to remember when you feel like you're in a winter season. It will pass and that,
Endings are beginnings,
yeah.
and beginnings are endings.
But obviously, if you feel like you're in a perpetual winter, that's not good either. If you feel like you're in a perpetual summer, that's also not good. I feel
Yeah.
like that
Something,
is,
maybe something to look into there.
yeah. I feel like you shouldn't be happy all the time. Like that would be, you maybe you could feel at peace all the time. You can notice when you start feeling a little bit like disrupted or upset, but you can't, if you're happy all the time, I feel like you're either feeling numb or
You're not.
I don't know. There's a
Yeah,
purpose to all the seasons.
exactly. Okay, so that's your motherhood parallel is like it was a little bit like postpartum era and like when things maybe
Yeah,
grief
or
of
even
change
like
and
seasons of regressions
yeah.
or like rough seasons of toddlerhood or babyhood where there's like no sleep or things just feel really heavy and you need more rest. Could also be a parallel to winter.
Yeah. Well, that was our last season.
But you know
And
what? Sorry, one more thing. I do, speaking of like cycles having a purpose, regressions also have a purpose. They're not even, it's not like the term regression sounds like they're going backwards, but it's actually learning something
that
new.
is
So
true.
it's like adjusting to the future of everything you're learning.
Yeah, like when things are very difficult,
So maybe winter is kind of like
something
that. It's like,
new is coming from it.
yeah, exactly. Anyways, moving on.
Just like postpartum. Okay. I always like to bring in other cultures and things here because we do have a biased perspective in our American life over here in America. So I was reading about what other societies value and what other cultures value during, I don't know why I was looking at postpartum. I guess that's just where it went. But I just thought it was interesting that some countries have mandatory 30-day rest periods for moms. And they call it different things. I am not going to try to say these words. But in China, they have a word that means sitting the month. And it's just like a thing. You just have a 30-day period, 30 to 40 days of postpartum confinement. And a lot of these, like Malaysia does something similar. It's like 40 to 44 days. South Korea does something similar. Oh, well, South Korea has postpartum care centers where moms can choose to stay there for like 2 to 3 weeks and they just take care of you.
Amazing.
In Latin American traditions, there is also something similar to that, about 40 days, and they're very like focused on community involvement and the community coming together and being there for the mom. And so across cultures, the 30 to 40 day period shows up a lot, and within that, a lot of it's focused on like warmth and nourishing things like warm foods and coziness, blankets, I don't know, resting, but also like very much community involvement and like your friends and family and people helping. So I just thought that was really interesting. And I think that you can create that if you have the right community for you, even if you're not in one of those countries or cultures. There are ways that you can like try to morph that for yourself, even if it's not as valued or prevalent where you are.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah. I think that is very important and something that we should try to implement here in the
And
US.
I don't really know why I brought that up because it doesn't really have to do with cycles, but I guess it was more about like how our modern capitalism trains us to be in a perpetual summer.
Yeah.
And like those countries maybe do things like
We
that because they don't
value-
see it that way. They don't see like,
We value spring and summer more than fall and winter.
yeah.
Can we also talk about the moon for a little bit? I feel
Yeah,
like
the
there's
moon.
no scientific
The
evidence
moon.
about like the moon phases meaning different things for us, but I do feel like maybe there is some truth in that. I don't know. Also, the moon phase cycle is like 29 and a half days, and menstrual cycles are usually like 28 to 30 days or something. So it's like lines up with the moon, which I think is very interesting. I am very interested in reading more about like how that was in the past. Like people
Yeah.
were very in tune with the cycles of the moon and stuff. But anyways, the new moon usually means it's a time of introspection and setting intentions, starting new things and projects and shadow work. And waxing moon means the light is getting bigger. Can mean like taking steps towards goals and planning. And then the full moon is a time of completion and energy and seeing like the intentions come true that you set during the new moon. So I feel like a lot of people that I know that are really into like moon phases and stuff do like rituals during the new moon and the full moon. But I feel like that's a good practice anyway. Just even if you don't believe in that, it's like good to remind yourself to reflect on things. And then the waning moon is just like a period of reflection and releasing things that aren't serving you and letting go. But it's really interesting
Yeah.
to think about that and how that lines up with your cycle and how people use that as like guidance
Yeah.
in the ancient times.
Everything is connected. It's all connected.
Yeah.
Well, that is very interesting. I didn't really put that anything about that in my notes, but I really had the intention to do that. I did not.
Yeah.
So I don't have much to say about it, but yeah, I think it's interesting. That's the extent I have to say. To end, I think that we could each talk about what season we feel like we're in right now and why.
Today? This hour?
Just, yeah, in this very moment. It could be this very moment or just in general.
I feel like I'm in spring. I'm in my follicular phase. I feel more energized the past few days. I feel like excited to do things. I've been like making to-do lists of everything I need to do with the house. And I haven't done them, but I'm making the list. And maybe I'll do them in summertime. That's where I'm at.
I love it. I'm also in spring, I
Oh.
think. Because I'm literally
together.
blooming a babe. A babe is blooming. It's forming. And I also feel like that. I just feel motivated and excited.
Yay.
And we're starting this podcast thing. That's very spring-like. New projects,
Yeah.
new humans. So we're both in a spring phase.
Yeah. A closing point is rhythms and cycles are a part of life. And I feel like that's what I'm learning is to not place so much stock in your feelings, meaning anything about you. Personally, like so there's something wrong with you or that you shouldn't be feeling a certain way. I think instead just sit with the feeling, recognize you have that feeling. Like I am anxious. I am having a thought that today's going to be terrible instead of being like, today's going to be terrible. And then
Yep.
think about maybe it would be helpful for some people to think about what season they're in. And maybe that can give some kind of explanation and like prepare you for maybe this season is going to be harder because I'm in my luteal phase.
All right. Well, our audio started sounding like a robot, so I don't really know what we missed there. But I think that we were saying a good note to end on is to recognize your cycles and to let them guide you instead of forcing a cycle. I think that is more accepting. It helps you feel more accepting of where you're at instead of pushing things and burning you out.
It's a lot more succinct than what I said, so good thing our audio cut out, I guess. Okay, thank you for watching Moonmates, and we'll see you next time.
See you in our next episode. Bye.
Bye.